Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Dion Jacksmiller. Tonight in our spin-off program, All Angles Investigates, a special report on noise pollution and hearing loss in Jamaica. This program is being signed by sign language interpreter Antoinette Aiken, and special thanks to her. And we also want to let you know that one of the hearing loss victims in this story is related to a member of our news center. I'll see you at the end of the program. This is Here Today, Gone Tomorrow. Here's Giovanni Dennis.
A typical party in Jamaica, patrons vibing to their favorite hits. Also typical, DJs demanding volume in their mics.
The louder, the more rowdy the entertainment, the more attention it grabs, and the more money it makes. Because that's what entertainment is in Jamaica. Recorded music, live music, people gather together to hear sound, word, and power.
It's part of Jamaica's identity. Colorful, proud, and yes, loud. But at one such party in 2022, a group of friends suffered hearing loss from the loudness of the speakers. Most were temporary, like John's, not his real name.
That the music was just loud. It was quite a loud party. You could hear it from, I had friends who said they could hear it from where they were in Barbican, and the party was at police officers. So you could hear it from quite a distance away.
Meanwhile, in the party,
my ears were hurting, and it didn't feel like anywhere in the party besides going all the way back to the bathrooms, which were far away, would give me any kind of relief. So I had to cover my ears a couple of times, move further back, and kind of walk around a bit more frequently than usual just to get a break from how loud it was.
And he wasn't the only one affected.
I went with 4 people, and all of them had temporary hearing loss. 1 permanent hearing loss.
In his experience, it's normal to feel a little ringing in the ear for 12 to 24 hours after a party. But this time, John was worried
that the damage might be permanent, because it took longer than usual to come back. It took about a week for it to come back. Usually I'm good after a day.
The feeling was also unusual.
Imagine you have your hands over your ears for a week. That's the best I can describe it as. And there's a constant ringing in your ears.
John's friend, who suffered permanent damage to her hearing, initially declined a request for an interview in 2022. Months later, in 2023, she decided to share her story, but not her face or her real name. We'll call her Latoya. I started by asking what life is like now.
If I'm in a parking lot somewhere and there's a lot of heavy traffic, it's not as easy to hear. It might be easier for someone, I guess, to block out the sound around them, but everything around me is amplified, and I have to focus heavily on the person that's speaking to me so that I can hear. It's almost like I've lost the ability to listen passively.
Before that party, she had noticed subtle decreased hearing. A medical check concluded it was mild, negligible really.
After that party, it was like I could hear nothing at all.
It was like any other party. Friends, music, good vibe. But something happened.
So on 2 separate occasions, the sound had cut out completely and then it came back. It was about 10 minutes before I was ready to leave the party. I started getting a headache. So I was just like, okay, this might be too loud.
After leaving, the headache worsened and so did her hearing. She then realized
I wasn't the only one. I knew a lot of other people that were having hearing issues, but I guess because of my deficit, it wasn't as easy to bounce back.
So you said there were other people at the party with hearing issues after the party?
Yeah, so even persons that I went with directly after, they described ringing in the ears or muffled. The sounds generally were muffled. Apart from persons that I went to, so I knew personally, there was a lot of persons talking about it on Twitter and social media. You see random tweets. Even the first ENT doctor that I had spoken to, she had mentioned that a lot of persons were experiencing some of the similar symptoms after having gone to that party.
in those cases, patrons' hearing returned after a few days, but not Latoya's. She visited multiple doctors.
One of them in particular had mentioned that this has been an ongoing issue in terms of parties and the noise levels.
But those noise levels are seen as an essential aspect of many Jamaican entertainment events, dances.
If the dance are going good, you feel the bass line in your belly. And if you're a real dance man from back in the days, you have a red stripe beer and you stand up right at the box. That was actually a thing back in the day. It's still a thing, because at some fest the other day, a lot of persons stood at the box to feel the energy when Berry Salmon come on, because there's a different feeling.
Clubs and soca events. Baldwin Clark has been a disc jock for more than 40 years.
I'm going to be honest with you. I've been a DJ from 1977, so I kind of get used to it. What I do, I love the vibes. And when I hear it, yes, it does, because the decibels really ring up. But guess what? It's a change, and I work with a change. I feel a change. I love it.
You feel you think it ever affect your hearing in any way?
Put it like this. If it does affect the hearing, but you see, it not affect my hearing because I've been used to the nightclub for years. I was at Piper's Lounge, I was at Hedonism, all these other clubs. I'm used to it, to be honest.
You tell me, so sometimes you cover your ears on the inside. Why you cover your ears?
Because I love to hear the vibe. I want to feel the beat. So I go by the speaker, I want to feel the beat. Because when the music hits you, you feel no pain.
And you don't hurt your ears any at all? You don't hurt your ears?
That's secondary. The music hitting you, you feel no pain.
You know, I did a presentation on noise pollution once, and the ending slide, I put up that famous slogan from a Bob Marley song. You know, one good thing about music, when it hits you, you feel no pain. And that is not true.
One good thing about music, when it hits you, feel no pain. Whoa, I say one good thing about music, when it hits you, feel no pain.
Some partygoers we spoke with don't mind.
Find a position where you can still hear it, the quality is good, and you're good to go.
You have to used to it, you know?
I really tried to stay away from the box, but I had to pass it tonight, and I do feel the vibration going through me.
These people go to the dance halls and they're by the speaker because it feels good to have that vibration there, but that vibration that you're getting from the noise is actually causing damage to the hair cells in the inner ear. And so what happens is when those hair cells get damaged, they can't make a connection to the nerve for the brain to send a signal to the brain for the brain to start processing the information that it gets.
Dr. Georgia Beavers is an audiologist with 40 years experience, and Dr. Guyan Chana is an ear, nose and throat specialist, ENT for short.
I've seen someone who fell asleep at a speaker box and woke up deaf. So I've seen many things that are noise-induced hearing loss. Now,
Fell asleep at a speaker box and wake up deaf?
yes, fell asleep at a speaker box and woke up deaf.
Here in Jamaica?
Here in Jamaica.
How long ago?
That was maybe about 4 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago.
Was that person temporarily deaf?
Permanently deaf.
That is called noise-induced hearing loss. That's also what John and Latoya experienced, although their cases were not as severe. Noise-induced hearing loss can happen when noise levels exceed 80 decibels over an extended period.
Anybody who is exposed to it, and depending on the decibel level, and as you realize these parties will have 70, 80 decibels, that is like standing, pretty close to a lawnmower, I think, for several minutes. And if you are at risk, there are some persons who are more at risk than others, but once you have exposed yourself to them, there are maybe 5 to 10% of those persons who will end up with hearing loss.
Too loud a sound can damage or destroy the main organ in the ear, the cochlea.
So when sound goes into the ear canal, this is the outer part of the ear here, goes through the ear canal, the first thing it hits is your eardrum, and the eardrum vibrates. And when the eardrum vibrates, these sound waves transmit along the bones of the ear here, almost like the shocks of a car. So it shakes. And then when it shakes, it gets down to the organ of hearing, the cochlea, from which it sends vibrations through the fluid in the cochlea. And as the vibration moves, then the nerves are triggered, and that goes up to the brain, and the brain interprets it as sound. So anywhere along this path can be damaged, and when it is damaged, then that is when you end up with hearing loss. Particularly your eardrum can be ruptured, can be torn from loud noise. The organ of hearing here, the cochlea, can be damaged, as well as the nerve can be damaged, and these are the areas that largely tend to be irreversible. But what he experienced is called a temporary threshold shift, where for a brief period of time there is this plant in the country where you step on it and it quails. For a brief period of time, the ear cells quail, and then it may take a while before they are restored again. But if the damage is too much, if you step on that plant with too much force, you actually end up killing it. So it's the same kind of concept that results in hearing loss by too loud of a sound pressure.
That's the damage that Latoya suffered.
I did get chastised a bit because it's like, that you have this history of hearing loss before why you go into parties with loud music. But hindsight is 2020. At the time, I never thought too much of it. Afterwards, I felt like I was beating myself up about it. But I've never gone to a party and experienced that before. So I guess, or not I guess, but I didn't expect that to happen. I guess no one expects anything like that to happen, to be honest.